financially support programs that go on here at the center, both here in this facility and in the banquet halls that you see here and in other areas around the city. One of the great things about this poetry get-together here event for us has been number one, it's the second, maybe third opportunity that we've had to work with the Jason Taylor Foundation, which is something that does a variety of things for us. It exposes our community to a different type of art form. You guys sort of being part of this, I think, is really an exciting and sort of inspirational sort of program that we hope gets a lot of traction here as things go forward. I remember many, many years ago being at the age of some of you and thoroughly enjoying forced poetry at my high school. I really got into it for a period of time and actually took some courses in college that I thoroughly enjoyed. We're happy, as is the city of Miramar, for him doing what he's doing and becoming as involved as he has been in this program. I now want to introduce Tamara.
Hi, good evening.
She's much better at this than I am.
No, you did a great job. Thank you, Jim.
See.
Thank you. And welcome, thank you very much. Welcome once again. I am Tamara G. from the Office of Marketing and Public Relations. A lot of you may know me from my former life. Anybody listen to 99 Jams, 97.3 The Coast, Hot 105, okay? So people know the voice, but they don't know the face. So I am the face behind that voice, and I am very happy to be a part of Art Speaks Join the Conversation, which is part of the Knight Foundation grant that the Miramar Cultural Trust has gotten to put on this wonderful program for you this evening. With this program that we have tonight, it's all a part of Omari Hardwick's Blue Apple Poetry Network. It's a program of the Jason Taylor Foundation. Now, does that name Omari Hardwick ring a bell?
Yes.
All right now. First of all, y'all should not be watching Being Mary Jane, but that's a whole nother story. Or Power on Showtime. And of course, he is a poet in his own right, but he is partnered with the Jason Taylor Foundation to bring this tonight. And we have a wonderful poetry book also that we'll be telling you about, the Blue Apple Poetry Book, and we'll tell you about that a little bit later. But first, I want to bring to the stage, we have several poets that are gonna get the night started, and we're gonna bring out Zoharian Williams, Peter Lang, Amaret Lormill, and Douglas Goodrich. Let's give them a round of applause.
What does an artist do? Before method, there was madness, primitive expression, just the taps of a stick, melody and hums, grunts, and clicks.
Click, click, click.
Clicks. By the flickering flame that Prometheus gave, woes etched on the insides of caves. Prose fiction, how natives say. I don't know about chickens and eggs, but before art, there were artists.
I'm an artist, and I just love how the art feels, because I believe that art heals the sick, the ill. Those who have created the illusion that there is no creativity to be found, those who won't illustrate their passion, so I pass them a remedy of poetry. I hate to see creativity crippled, curled up in the ICU, so whenever I see you, count on me to inspire you. Everybody is an artist. It just needs to be pulled out of us. And with so many people doubting us, it feels like we ain't got enough. An artist says nothing. Our passion says it all. I'm Vincent Castelia. Cut myself open and splash murals on the wall.
My canvas comes with lines that think they're guiding me. His white and plain, hers silence. And despite our outlets being varied, we all have one goal.
Change.
Have you ever noticed the way art can either settle the dust or disturb the peace? Do you ever notice the acuteness with which one listens as a poet speaks, the vibrations that move an intrinsic spirit when a singer sings, or how different strokes have people stoked with distort reality? An artist totes the world on their back, and with every toke delivers a form of conceptualism the average mind fails to fathom. What does an artist do?
Every morning around 2 a.m., I wake up and I write. I write till my hand fuses with my pen and begin finger painting poetry along college road canvas. I'm breathing in between the lines, playing my soul out in every choked word. As an artist, it's pen versus sword, writer versus block, me against mainstream.
An artist makes the moment a bullet takes a life seem beautiful. A smile, sad, pain, brilliant, and love. Understood.
An artist cannot stay still because he's too busy trying to paint still images that move souls. I guess that's a motion picture. So whenever I max out a page, just don't let it be in vain. The splendid colors of kaleidoscopes run through my veins. I'm far from Mozart, but can spit more art than your average guy. What can I do? Except listen to whatever the inspiration tells me to.
We sing every song. We are every staccato and cut time, every cadence to every drum line. We are people who will starve to the very moment our ribs protrude because we have a point to prove. We move. Like every second is our last to lose. An artist gives himself incessantly to this world through their art.
Art is entering a poetry contest, having only ever written one poem. And as a result, meeting Omari Hardwick and Jason Taylor and witnessing firsthand the growth of people like Amaret, Zoe, Pete, the list goes on of those like me, affected by Blue Apple poetry, and people like Seth Levitt and Darius Daughtry who taught me not to just talk, but speak. Art is all of the above.
On fleek.
Art is coming home and writing about the past 2 years of my life, then tearing the pages out of my notebook and starting over because my tears messed up the paper the first time. Art encompasses far too much to be defined because art is life. So if you ask me what an artist does, I'll tell you they live. They live life in its purest form. They experience and they share and they grow old and they die unafraid. Because when they die, they'll do so having loved and lost. And they will know heartbreak. And they will know
sadness.
And they will know
sorrow.
And they will know pain. And they will not regret a single second of it because an artist tells the stories of their encounters with both the roses and the thorns. And thanks God for both.
An artist roars, passion and creativity dripping out every pore.
An artist writes his plight and leave portraits for the world to marvel.
An artist gives herself to this world incessantly.
An artist lives.
It is my pleasure to introduce the program director of the Blue Apple Poetry Network. That would be Mr. Darius Daughtry. The executive director of the Jason Taylor Foundation, Mr. Seth Levitt. And you might have heard of this guy. He used to wear number 99 and play some football for a little team called the Miami Dolphins. And now he's done a great program in bringing kids in, Mr. Jason Taylor.
All right. Okay.
So we're just going to get right into the Art Speaks during the conversation. The first question is, with the Jason Taylor Reading Room and the poetry program with your foundation, why are the arts and education the areas of importance to you?
Well, the education thing was the biggest for me. Allowing kids to, because of the dropout rate and the illiteracy rate, I wanted to be able to give kids a chance to not only stay current with where they are, but advance from the current grade level that they're in and have a chance to get through school, get through high school, have a chance to move on to college. And it sounds like such a broad idea, but it really is a problem. You know, kids not graduating, kids not learning, kids falling behind, ending up on the streets. And we know the vicious cycle of you end up dropping out 8th, 9th, 10th grade, whatever it may be, and then your next destination more than likely is the cemetery or the penitentiary. And neither one of those places will make you much money or get you very far in life. So we wanted to create a program to help these kids be able to learn and grow. The art spun off of it, really kind of the brainchild of Seth Levitt, the director. We did a few different things. We had a DJ program for a little while. We had a cooking program for a little while, and trying to give kids a different outlet, different avenues to explore, and maybe things they may not be exposed to all the time. DJ Irie partnered with us on the DJ program, which was fantastic, and we had a good time with it. I could not do any of it. I'm not very artsy at all. And then Seth had this idea of doing poetry.
And this one just took off.
It did, and he knows we've worked together long enough, and I've known him for 18 years and worked together for the majority of those years, or all those years really in some capacity. And he knows my vision, he knows what I'd like to do, the kind of programs we like to run, kind of how I carry myself personally, and so we have this trust. So he comes up with these different things, a ping pong tournament. Yeah, sure, go ahead, why not? You know,
he's just throwing ideas at you.
And I rarely say no.
Okay.
Actually, I do say no a lot. But I usually let him have his creative his creative power. And then he came up with this poetry thing, and I was like, listen, you can do it, but don't expect me to be involved, because I
expect
can't.
you to spit anything, don't expect you to get on stage.
I've been listening to Jay-Z music for 15 years, and I still can't get through a song without messing up the lyrics. So how am I supposed to write a poem? That's kind of my whole thing.
So tell me, Seth, how did this come to you? Why poetry?
It really did come to us. I appreciate Jason giving me a little bit of credit, but I can't necessarily take all of the credit. But we, and I don't know if she was supposed to be here tonight, but we had a student in the reading room. Is she here?
She's
okay.
out there.
Well, we'll embarrass her a little bit. Okay, there she is. So what I like to tell people is Autumn, who is here, Autumn wrote a poem. And that's really how this all began, is that Kevin Sawyer, who is our educational director at the Reading Room, who does an unbelievable job, does an incredible Black History Month presentation. And he was working with the kids, and he digs deep in it. It's not the unfortunate glossed over piece that most of the kids are learning in schools. And he really digs deep and teaches the kids things that they hadn't heard under normal circumstances. And on this one particular, gosh, it had to be almost 5 years ago now, because Autumn was in 8th grade, and she's a senior now here in Miramar High School. And she was so moved by what she had learned from Kevin that day, as she went home and she wrote the first poem of her life. And came back in the next day and said, Mr. Kevin, can I share this piece? And read it to the class, and effectively created a spoken word poem without even realizing that's what she was doing. And you know, she ignited a spark that has become a full-blown wildfire now when you see these kids on stage in the 50-something schools that we're in, and now with Louder Than a Bomb, Florida. So it really all goes back to Autumn having written that first poem.
Awesome.
I'm going to stop giving him credit then.
Yeah, and give it to Autumn.
Hey, Autumn, great job, man.
Now, Darius, how did you get involved?
Initially, I was a teacher within the network. I was a teacher at Northeast High School, and first I was, I had a poetry club there, and I've been doing that for about 6 years. And Seth reached out and, asked us if I wanted to take my group and be a part of the network. At first, I was like, nah, I'm good. We're doing our thing, and I don't need a network of people to validate what we're doing. But he kind of convinced me, and we became a part of the network. And I was able to see how important that community was, to be able to allow the platform for these students to speak not only just in their school, but across boundaries and across zip codes and area codes. So I was hopefully I would say I was the best sponsor that was in the network at the moment, And but no, seriously. Then we talked, and initially there was someone else that was involved with the program, and when they were looking to make a change, Seth reached out to me and was like, "Hey, what do you think?" And so I started as a director of the program last year while I was still teaching, and then I'm here full time now, and then it's great. I love it.
Is there any rhyme or reason to spoken word? I mean, Autumn went home and wrote a poem. Obviously, it was how she felt or what, moved her that day. Is there any type of rhyme or reason, or is it just how you feel?
Yes and no. I think a lot of it, and we have a lot of poets that are there in the audience can attest to this. A lot of it is them saying, you know what, I have something to say. I have something's on my mind or in my heart, and I want to be able to express it. Now, to take that and do it creatively, that's the transition, to go from, okay, I have a thought, and now we're going to take this and make it creative. For instance, actually, with that, I don't know, can we have a performance right now?
I was going to say, speaking of having something to say, yes.
So I think Amarette has something to say, right? All right.
PSA. Darkest of nights and dim was the day you took my son from me. My third of what would soon be 6, now a missing puzzle piece in this foolish mosaic, and you said you didn't have that much to drink. As if you didn't know even a small lighter could burn a bridge. May 18, 2012, you decimated my cement foundation, disintegrated a very root in my family's history, knocked a crowned king from his throne. Selfish was a man, cruel the fate of life, and corrupt the circle of being. The very spirit of Mr. Grim Reaper built a humble home in the bottom of the bottle and enticed poor judgment. Taxi cabs are more comfortable than coffins, and dirt smells just as bad as regret. Thing is, I don't forgive you. There aren't enough octaves nor decibels to reflect my frustration. I'm not a mother who will learn to accept it. I'll hate you forever. I never wanted to befriend a cemetery. Now, the labels of the sad stories that I now dream are the nightmares of Elm Street, and my baby's story is just another one lost in the matrix. And I won't be at peace until someone realizes Justin is just like Julius Caesar and your front bumper betrayed him. See, the court system is gonna fail him too. You'll say your regrets, they'll feel bad, you'll walk. They might even recommend you attend an AA meeting, then thrust me back into society and expect me to adapt, as if I can ignore the injustice I've just witnessed, as if I can ignore every billboard and commercial that advises against drunk driving but proceeds to advertise Bud Light and excessive liquor guzzling, DUI. Drivers underestimate the involvement of their conscious decision. It's never their fault. Mommy was an alcoholic, daddy was an alcoholic, as if that's a legitimate reason, as if they've never learned right from wrong or how to make a difference. He was 10 minutes from home. Almost safe from the perils of the land. If I could conceal my agony, I would, but my teeth would probably decay in battle. I-D-U. I don't understand. But until I figure it out, I don't forgive you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amoret. So tell us, Jason, what has been the biggest surprise about the poetry and I guess maybe the impact that it's had on your foundation?
The impact is endless, really. I mean, and probably the biggest surprise is it goes along with the impact. It's just grown exponentially and really organically. You know, we started out, Autumn, not Seth, Autumn started this whole thing out. And it went from Autumn to 3 or 4 kids to 10 to now being in almost 50 schools in Broward and Dade County and having this 11-day festival, louder than a bomb, Florida now. And it seems like, for me, it's been overnight. I know for the staff that does this every day, it's probably seems like 10 years, but the rate at which it's grown, and then hearing some of the things that come out of these young people. Mm-hmm. And I hate calling them kids. You know, I have a kid, one of them's here tonight, he's 10. You know, these young people that have experienced so much. And it's interesting, some of the things, you know, I heard Zoe do one of his poems called Changes one day. In a very informal setting, we're hanging out. I'm not gonna tell where we're hanging out, somewhere he shouldn't have been. But I think he had just written it, right? He was still kind of putting it together and just listening to him tell me, and he didn't perform it, he just kind of just told me the whole thing, and like I'm sitting there fighting back tears. And every time I hear it from that point on, I still fight back tears.
So you know we have to hear that one tonight, right?
And listening to Autumn sometimes, and you know, she's made me cry. It's amazing the things that these young people go through and experience in life, and then I rewind a little bit.
Were you ever influenced by poetry growing up?
No, rap. Rap.
That's poetry.
But yeah, I'm sorry, it is. But you know, I start to rewind a little bit. You know, I didn't always play for the Miami Dolphins. I didn't always live in Weston and not have wintertime. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up in Pittsburgh in a single parent home, and experienced a lot of the things that these young people will talk about, and the crime and the poverty and the drugs and being made fun of, and the racial divide that was in Pittsburgh at times, and coming from a mixed family, being, you know, the Oreo and all the things that you're being called. And so it's, you know, you kind of get detached from some of that sometimes, and people say, well, you change. Pardon the pun, Zoe, but people say you change when you get to a certain place in life, and yeah, you do. You change and you grow and you learn, but unfortunately for me, sometimes I kind of became detached from that, and listening to them sometimes brings me back to that and really, really, really drives some of the things home. I was at one of the showcases. What was that?
Saturday.
Sunday. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I had all 3 of my children there. I have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And my whole thing was when we were going, can I bring my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter? Was she going to hear too much? And Seth was like, no, she's fine. And I really thought a lot of it would go over her head. And she wouldn't be able to understand some of the things, and she couldn't understand some of it But there was 3 times where the young people were performing on the stage, and we sat all the way in the back. There was 3 times where she got up from the row in front of me and walked all the way over and sat next to me and hugged me. And every time it was about someone's father not being around and the struggles that their parents went through. And she knows I grew up without a father. So I was thinking that she was gonna miss all these things, but 3 separate times she got up and walked over to me, and that's like getting hit by a Mack truck.
Yeah. Well, you know, they always say you never know what kids do know more than what you think they know.
Yeah, so I need to turn the radio down sometimes, 'cause I thought she didn't understand anything, but yeah.
But you did, okay. Well, I wanted to ask you, Seth, were you influenced by poetry growing up as to why you thought maybe this poetry room would work?
You know, I mean, my parents are educators, and my father was in the theater, but that wasn't, honestly, the reason I thought it would work is that when I read Autumn's poem, I unfortunately wasn't there the day that she performed it, but they emailed it to me immediately, and when I read it and I saw how powerful it was, it clicked that everything we were teaching in the reading room, you know, was rooted in this poem. We were asking the kids to think critically, to write creatively, to use all of these literary devices. And she put all of that together, but wasn't forced to put it together. And she had something to say. And I had a pretty good relationship with a lot of the kids, and so each one of them was dealing with something. You know, we all are. Every one of us has a story and something to say, but they struggled. Autumn herself struggled sometimes expressing things and some of the things that she was going through. And I realized immediately that this became that vehicle for them to express themselves and to do it in a positive way, in a productive way, and then for people to actually listen. And that's the fascinating thing, that Jason's daughter, Zoe, could listen and relate, that adults and you know, all the young people in this room, I'm sure, will say that, you know, grown folks don't want to listen to us. They don't want to hear what we have to say. They tune us right out. But when they get up on that stage and that microphone and they start to wax poetic, the room is silent and everybody hears what they have to say and they're able to convey their thoughts. And I think that's a very, very powerful tool.
Speaking of getting on stage, we have another performance coming up now.
So my biggest fear is being normal, average. I just can't imagine me begging and asking and waking up every day going to a job that I really have no passion for. I'd inspire people for free, pay me, and I really couldn't ask for more. I just don't want to spend the rest of my life just getting by. I want to be able to just get and buy wherever I want because I feel like I deserve that. And I'm not trying to say that anybody else deserves scraps, but I'm only 18. And I done been through enough agony. I had to see a lot more obstacles than I asked to see. Breaking down was an option. Being strong was something I had to be. I overcame tragedies. Not just to work a 9 to 5 and let Bob tell me what the hell to do. The hell with you. To tell the truth, I'm starting to get a little impatient. I'm tired of waiting on poetry to influence affluence, and they tell me, wait for life to run its course. And of course I take heed and smile, but in my head I'm thinking, life's course must be 100 dang miles, and life must be running with one leg and no arms, getting pushed back and swallowed up by a storm because my moment is taking way too long to come. My biggest fear is that in the future, I go home and my wife will ask me, how was work, honey? And I would look her dead in the eyes and say, work was work, and not have anything more to say. So you can keep your briefcase, for peace sake. I suffer from a brief case of inspiration every day. I'd much rather hold an old composition book filled with robust words. As a matter of fact, I want a composition book filled with so much words that I never have to work again as long as I can work a pen. So pay me an inspiration. I don't need a master's degree to be a poet. I only need to try to perfect and master my craft to a certain degree. I can only be me, and see, I'm far from normal. I couldn't be average if I scored 80s on every test. Creativity at its best, the rest could fall in line like a domino effect. And if you're lost, let me give you a little fast food for thought. See, life is like a bad game of checkers, and sometimes we all fall down like dominoes. But when these lyrics hop off the page faster than Sonic, I want to pop eyes and give a little fast food for thought. A wise man once told me, you can live for something and die for nothing, and I die for this, so my time is coming.
Oh, Zaharian.
Yes. So how did I know it was going to work? All you have to do is listen.
Awesome.
I mean, it's incredible what these kids are doing.
I believe you just told my life story about going to work, but that's another story. And they're probably all the grown people out here. Mm-hmm. Tell us, Darius, what is the age group that the kids that are coming into?
Actually, we have from elementary school through high school. I mean, even if you add it now, with Louder and Devon, Florida, we have a college slam, but we recently had what we called our little firecracker slam, where elementary and middle school students performed. We had a 5-year-old on stage performing poetry. 5 years old. And it was a dope poem. He was spitting. You know?
Ode to Carrots, right?
It was an ode to carrots, and with all the
Ode to carrots.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Onomatopoeia, crunch, crunch, crunch in it. You know, it was dope, man. So yeah, it's amazing because I mean I've been writing since I was maybe close to 5 years old myself, and so just to see them at a young age, these elementary school students up there with poems that they've written and memorized and with meaning, not just something that their teacher said, oh, you need to write this. Mm-hmm. Not just something that somebody said, well, write a poem about this thing. This is something that they feel strongly about. You know, young ladies in the 4th grade talking about changing the world and ending racism and poverty because of everything that they're seeing in their community, you know, and all the way up to these who are, seniors in high school. And the great thing about our foundation, what we're doing is we're able to transition some of those who are students into more positions of influence. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, Douglas there, he's one of our teaching artists. And so he's come through the program, and now he's giving back as a teaching artist and helping the other young poets perfect their craft and their performance and everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Seth, how did you all form the partnership with Omari Hardwick?
Well, Jason indicated earlier that he gave us the green light, but said don't expect a whole lot of rhyme and verse to come from Jason. And clearly working with him all these years and having that name that people recognize and respect, it helps us open a lot of doors, and especially when they're as invested as Jason is. And I wanted to replicate that with the poetry piece. And Omari, I've known Omari since, I don't know if people know, but Omari played college football before he went off to Hollywood. And he grew up with my best friend from college. So I've known him for years and years.
No, none of these women out here know who Omari is.
They don't know who Omari is.
Yeah, they don't know him. Yeah.
Reaction again. But before he really started to get work as an actor, he was a poet, and that's how he got his start in L.A. And so I asked Jason what he thought, and I thought Omari would really understand the brand that Jason had built, having come from the world of football and then transitioned into this world. And he said, yeah, that's fine. Let's. And I said, can he get involved? He said, put his name on it. If that's what kids are going to recognize. And it was Jason who said, let Omari put his name on it. And he said that he'd be invested, and he would Skype with the kids. I'm sure Autumn remembers that. And originally, that's how it started. Is he'd get on the computer, and they'd share their pieces, and he'd share something, and he'd give them something to write, and said, next time I come back, I need to hear something. And it was off and running. And as far away as he's been on the other side of the country, he's always been very invested in the program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Jason, tell us, what is life like now after football? Are you carpooling the kids every morning to school? Are you making play dates with Zoe and her little friends?
Yeah, I'm taking the kids to school a little bit. Not carpooling. I don't want anybody else's kids in my car. three in there is enough. Yeah, I'm being dad. Mm-hmm. I'm getting to do all the things I didn't necessarily have a chance to do when I played. Even when I retired, I took a job right away with ESPN and didn't want to work, but took the job for the wrong reason, chasing money. So once I did that for a year, then took a year off, and ESPN told me, well, if you leave, you have a non-compete. And I was like, that's perfect, because I don't want to work. So I had a chance to really sit back and just be dad. And I go to football practices. I coached one of my sons in football this past year over in Davie. Beat Miramar in the championship.
Don't get thrown off this stage, Jason.
It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But
we're in a rebuilding stage. We're in a rebuilding stage. What would you have done if you had not played football? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. I thought about it for probably a minute or two. I needed to play football. I grew up playing basketball all my life. Mm-hmm. Was never into football. I joined the football team as a junior in high school, played as a senior. But I always wanted to play in the NBA. I always wanted to be a basketball player. So in high school, I ended up getting a scholarship to go to the University of Akron. Mm-hmm. And they said you could play football and basketball if you come here. So I thought it was perfect. I'll go there, tinker around with football, see if I like it, and get a chance to do my dream of playing basketball on a collegiate level, and then hopefully go on from there. Mm-hmm. Realized very quickly the NBA wasn't for me. I couldn't shoot good enough, couldn't jump high enough, had no left hand. So I took,
all the things a basketball player might need.
pretty much
yeah.
the things you need to do on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd give this football thing a shot. And I went to school as a pre-law major. And I shouldn't say this in front of kids, but realized very quickly that pre-law wasn't my major.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. So thank God this football thing worked out.
Have you ever thought about modeling?
No.
Okay.
No,
He could be a model, don't y'all think?
no. I'm too old now.
You'd be the seasoned model. That's how they would.
Me and Morgan Freeman.
What was your favorite subject in high school?
My favorite subject, I mean, to be honest with you, PE. They don't even have PE anymore.
No,
so
they
it's
don't.
a shame.
No.
It's a shame. Ooh, you put me on the spot, girl.
English,
You know what?
reading,
You know what?
math.
No, people may not know this, but I didn't go to high school.
Really?
I was homeschooled in high school. So that kind of got me out of answering that question you just asked me. So I had to do all of it by myself, really. My mom was there to, kind of tell me to take my butt upstairs to do my homework. But, it's great preparation for going to college. Because when you go to college, you get a syllabus.
And that's it.
And you get your books. No, you don't get the books. You get a syllabus. They tell you to go buy your books and figure it out.
Right.
And that's how I was 10th through 12th grade. I was homeschooled. So I got my schoolwork done on a daily basis in an hour and a half. I was done. There's so much wasted time at school. While it's necessary, there's a lot of time at school that's dead times, and I realized that you can get a lot done in a short period of time. And I did that every morning, and then I played basketball the rest of the day.
Okay. Favorite group?
Group?
Mm-hmm. Favorite
group?
Artist, yes.
Artist? I grew up a big Michael Jackson fan.
Yes! Yes!
I have a scar above my eye. I was 9 years old, dancing to Michael Jackson.
Trying to do the
at a
moonwalk?
party. No, I was trying to spin.
Okay.
This goes back, linoleum.
Dancing machine or?
Linoleum floors. Remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah, those floors you used to roll out and stick down?
Yeah. My mother still has them.
Oh, that's one of the used to thing. Yeah, I was spinning on the linoleum floor in a pair of socks and slipped and busted my eye on the speaker. So Michael Jackson was my favorite growing up. But my mom used to listen to all kind of stuff on the weekends. We all had to clean the house, run the vacuum and all that stuff we had to do.
So Jason
the
had
Gap
a
Band,
normal
all of
childhood
us.
like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but as an adult, I've been a big Jay-Z fan. Just his transformation of where he was, where he is now, his path of doing it. While people may not agree with his former life or some of the things he says lyrically, I think it's a fascinating story.
If you could choose any person in the world, living or dead, to go to Starbucks with and have a cup of coffee, who would that be?
Starbucks? Anybody living? I'd have to say.
Or Dunkin' Donuts, whichever one you like better.
Starbucks.
Okay.
Yeah. Dunkin' Donuts. See, now I'm gonna hear about this. Darius over this. Dunkin' Donuts ain't cheap either.
You're right.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a chance to meet with a lot of people, fortunately, in life, and there's nobody on this planet that I could think of that I'd rather go with than Jesus, and just sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
And just let him go.
Maybe turn that coffee to wine.
I don't know how to. It was water. It's supposed to be water. No, I wouldn't want to have a drink with him, but we could. I drink a lot of coffee and hope he's jacked up on coffee. I just want to hear.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how talkative he is. If you don't talk to him, but I just want to hear it all. Maybe he might get up and start spitting some poetry.
Spitting some poetry, since he knows you like it.
I'd love to sit down with him.
Jesus. What about you, Seth? Any person, living or dead?
Turn to me. Oh man, I was totally unprepared for that.
I'll take you to Starbucks later, Seth.
You know what? I would, for me, and also somebody combining sports and poetry, I would say Muhammad Ali back when he was in his Cassius Clay days. I think that would be an interesting 15 minutes of drinking coffee.
Yeah, he'd say plenty, I think.
Yeah. Darius?
My grandmother, like she's like, that's my baby. So, thank you.
Shout out to the grandma.
Yeah, because
What'd you call your grandmother?
Grandma. Yeah. Or I call her baby. I call her baby. Hey, baby. You know, she's yeah, she was always there for me, and anytime we can actually spend this alone quality time is always special. And as I'm getting older and she's getting older, it becomes more special. So it'll definitely be her.
Okay.
I'm concerned for my generation. The youth of today often seal away everything that they deal with, and it feels like the struggle has never been more real than it is now. Still, somehow we manage to ignore the loud cries for help and melt down until we're oblivious to the dilemma that needs to be dealt with. I'm concerned for my generation, because it seems like our minds are trapped and confined and wrapped up with ropes and cords and lines and vines, combined with the deceptive perception of a correct state of mind. And like this state of mind, they're surrounded by an ocean of regret, and I fret to mention the fact that they can't swim to freedom, because there are sharks in the water that represent their demons. I'm concerned for my generation, because unlike generations past, we generate a vast amount of mental barriers like bulletproof glass, because although it seems unbreakable, it's transparent, and it's apparent that our parents can see through, but they can't seem to get us to open up our hearts and renew ourselves. I'm concerned for my generation, because although we seem okay on the surface, on the inside we're depressed and suppress the urge to confess this. And the amount of stress that we're under is evident in the gray hairline. Fractured dreams got us stuck in a rut, and it feels like we're captured. Kodak might help you to picture this: a fish in a bowl, not a soul to talk to, being constantly tormented by the temptation of the outside world. It's easy to see, but you know that you can't leave because you can't breathe out there, and it's not fair that you're forced to be filled with contempt towards the contents of your environment because you can't be anywhere else. I'm concerned for my generation. So all around the world, it seems that teens are so tired of their lives they decide to commit suicide, and I feel like my hands are tied because I can't find a way to fix it. And they slit their wrists just to take their mind off what hurts the most, and most don't realize why, but it's because when they reach their hands in the air, nobody's there to pull them up. Enough is enough. I know I'm not the only one who wants to see this generation succeed, so let's proceed without receding and start defending our youth, because it's surprisingly easy to be set free from mental bondage. Just deliver the truth. You know it's what you need to do, because this generation is depending on you.
And before we go tonight, Seth, do you want to talk about the book and show them the wonderful coffee table edition?
Sure. So, as we continue to see what we like to call a movement now, Blue Apple just grows and grows, and now with Louder Than a Bomb, one of the things we wanted to do was preserve the history of the program and look back at how it all started. And the fact that it started right here in the city of Miramar. And so last year, we created this book, Blue Apple Beginnings. And actually, I think, I know a lot of the poets here. We have 25 poets, youth poets, plus Mr. D, who submitted a piece.
And Omari.
And Omari as well, yeah. Omari submitted a piece. And then they were paired up with working artists here in South Florida. And they had a chance to meet with the artists and share their piece, perform their piece, talk about their motivation behind the piece. And then that artist brought their poem to life on page with their talents, and they married the two together. So it was a really special project, and you can see. So there's the poetry. Actually, there's some kids here from the original Poetry Corner, and some beautiful artwork. I think we have, as we said, this all started here. We have a nice homage to. There's Miss Autumn right there.
Look who that is. Aww.
Embarrass her a little bit. And we've been selling these for $99. We picked a number out of the air, and
really,
it's a
really
fundraiser. If you want to
really?
support the foundation, it's a neat way to support us and take home a piece of what we like to think is a piece of history and all this incredible work that all these poets have contributed to the book. So,
indeed,
appreciate you.
In my city, there are no stars in the sky. Gaudy shine, foolish glimmer. My city paints sinners as saints. Hoodie in Arizona, our heroes. My city paints targets on babies' backs. Black mirrors shattered, the twilight zone in our city. My city paints abstracts and the atmosphere. But the clouds, they're just clouds. I can't imagine anymore. I remember when splendiferous creatures used to parade through the skies. Now skeletons walk the streets while closets keep you captive. My city paints, brainwashing screens paints, lean, mean mugs paints, purple dreams paints, iron fists on purity's lips, fallen angels on front pages paints, demons doing deeds for Deus in a machine. My city painted me. And with all its inks, oils, and dyes, I hope it doesn't paint you, my little sister. In my city, there are no stars in the sky. God stole them all and placed them in your eyes. You're beautiful. And this comes from the truest part of my heart. You are art, evolution, not the problem, but the solution. Something that can't be constructed, calculated, or square-rooted, Rubik's Cube. They never crack the code because code figures are all they know. Call them blind, Columbine, killing minds, no common minds. Fox News, feed me to the combine. I won't be subdued, and neither will you. You're an individual, a fighter, mighty like the pen with a heart touched by King Midas, gold shining for all of us, guiding us when the moral compass goes askew. You were the truth raging behind silver tongues, wanting to be let loose. Horton, the only one that heard the who's, despite the world's disbelief, he believed it was true, just like I believe in you. To rise, you were the sunshine that revives a trampled flower. You are the princess that slayed the dragon and saved the prince from the tallest tower. Locked the unwritten story, the unheard tune that your soul sing unforgivingly. Be you. Be the stars I can't seem to find in the sky. Be the shine I can't find inside. Be great. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Lang, Zoharian Williams, Amaret Lormille, Douglas Goodridge, Seth Levitt, Darius Daughtry, Jason Taylor. I'm Tamara G, and this has been Art Speaks. Join the conversation, brought to you by the Knight Foundation and the Miramar Cultural Trust. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.